So I confess that I was bewildered. Uh, smiled. You may, he said, have heard of the Anglo American Social Bureau. So he talks about an organization now, Anglo American Social Bureau. And he says, I had not. He explained to me that of the thousands of Americans who annually pass through England, there are many hundreds who have no English friends. In the old days, they used to bring letters of introduction. But the English are so inhospitable that these letters are hardly worth the paper that they are written on. Thus, mm, said Leros, the AASP supplies a long felt want. Americans are sociable people and most of them have plenty of money to spend. The AASP supplies them with the English friends. 50% of the fees is paid over to the friends, and the other 50 is retained by the AASP. I am not, alas, a director. If I were, I should be a very rich man indeed. I am only an employee. But even so, I do very well. I am one of the CS of. So basically, what he did right with that lady, that farewell, was a part of his job. He was acting. He was being his he was working as an employee of this organization called AASB, and he was saying goodbye to that lady as part of his job. He was being paid to do so, to act like her friend. So many Americans who come to UK seem to have this problem of having any UK friends, British friends. So they were hiring people to be their friends. So this is all a real story, and this is something that the author experiences and recounts this very strange and funny episode from his real life experience. So, so this is the strangeness of the event. There have been movies or um, some of the news that we look at nowadays, that people hiring people to cuddle with, or people hiring people to just come and spend time with them and be friends with them. uh, this seems to be a very modern sort of problem, but here I think it's something of a cultural explanation is required for you to understand what's going on here. Why are specifically Americans not getting friends in Britain, in England? It's because there was a lot of cultural sort of um, superiority complex that the British had, and in many ways culturally they looked down upon the English for their language and culture, or like the lack of culture as they perceived it. America is made up of all sorts of immigrants coming from various parts of Europe and other nations, and America was always looked down upon by not just the English, but most European countries who have a culture, who have a language, who have a sort of heritage to look back on and then be proud of. And America being a very new nation, very new country, um, and with its peculiar sort of culture, peculiar and new sort of culture, and the kind of English, because of the language too. The second point is the language, because Americans now in a have changed the English language in a certain way, and removed most of the formalities associated with that language. And the English have always accused them of corrupting the language, or degrading the language. And that is why most of the Americans that come up here seem like odd people to them. And um, we see that because of these cultural differences and linguistic sort of differences, um, and a bit of British chauvinism and on the part of the British, these people don't seem to have actual friends. They don't. They seem to have you know co-workers and acquaintances, but not friends who could actually come up to the station to say goodbye to them. So to avoid um, uh, embarrassing experience over there. They are hiring um, English friends to do all of this, and people seem to be, and it seems to be a successful business because he says that the directors make a lot of money, and he declares himself to be just a um, uh, an employee in this organization. Again, I asked for enlightenment. Many Americans, he said, cannot afford to um, keep English friends in England, but they can all afford to be seen off. The fee is only £5, $25 for a single traveler, and £8, $40 for a party of two or more. They send that in to the bureau, giving the date of their departure and a description by which the seer off can identify them on the platform. And then, well, then they are seen off. So he is explaining all the mechanics of it, how it works, how much money, and how it works, and how they are supposed to identify them, and how it all works. So, but is it worth it? I exclaimed. Of course, it is worth it," said Leros. "It prevents them from feeling out of it. It earns them the respect of the guard. It saves them from being despised by their fellow passengers, the people who are going to be on the boat. It gives them a footing for the whole voyage. Besides, it's a great pleasure in itself. You see me, um, you saw me seeing that young lady off. Didn't you think I did it beautifully?" So basically, he's saying that it's quite useful for them. It's very useful. It's not like a waste of money at all. And beautifully, I admired. I envied you. There I there was I. Yes, I can imagine. There were you, shuffling from foot to foot, staring blankly at your friend, trying to make conversations. So now there's a contrast between the real friend and the fake acting that was going on. That acting once felt really real, and the real friend that was being seen off with our author's friend, it was a very awkward affair. Uh, that's how I used to be myself before I studied and went into the thing professionally. I don't say I'm perfect yet. I'm still a martyr to platform fright. I uh, a, a railway station is the most difficult of all places to act in, as you have discovered for yourself. But I said with resentment, I wasn't trying to act. I really felt. So did I, my boy. So basically, he says that the railway stations are quite difficult to do such things. It's difficult to act in a railway station platform. It might be easier to on a stage, and he gets almost offended and says that no, I was not trying to act. What do you mean? Like that was real. I really felt it. And then look at what Leros says. "Mm, so did I, my boy," said Leros. "You can't act without feeling. What's his name? The French Diderot?" "Yes," said he, "you could. But what did he know about it?" So there's this famous Frenchman. He said that yeah, you could act without feeling, but he says that you cannot do that. So he's saying that even though it was acting with this young lady, he really felt it. It was quite real for him. Didn't you see those tears in my eyes when that train started? I hadn't forced them. I tell you, I was moved. So were you, I dare say. But you couldn't have pumped up a tear to prove it. You can't express your feelings. In other words, you can't act. At any rate, he added kindly, not in the railway station. Teach me, I cried. He looked thoughtfully at me. Well, he said at length, the seeing of season is practically over. Yes, I'll give you a course. I have a good many pupils on hand. But yes, he said, consulting an ornate notebook, I could give you an hour on Tuesdays and Fridays. His terms, I confess, are rather high, but I don't grudge the investment. So basically, the story ends with our author, author that is our speaker in this essay, saying that he signed up for a course with this guy on how to act, because Liros makes it clear that what was going on over there might be acting, but it was real. And he says that I can teach you, and you do not know how to act. So, as a professional, he's trying to say that you do not know how to act, and let me teach you. And our author actually signs up. He doesn't get offended and says that I don't need. I'm not an actor, but he signed up for this course because uh, he's trying to make an important point. The main point of this essay is that even though we feel something very genuinely, okay, um, this essay is about saying farewell, but in other situations, we as modern people find ourselves in difficult situations. Some in situations like funerals, or a friend or family member who has gone through something very difficult in their lives. They were going through a difficult time in their lives. um, we do not know, even though we feel sorry for them, we have our condolences, but we do not know how to actually go and voice that out, and act in a way that they feel comforted by us. We do not do that. So so that so this is a problem that we all have, and this essay is actually pointing to that even though you feel something very strongly, your sentiments and your emotions might be in the right place, but you nevertheless require some training. You nevertheless require some learning to do in terms of how to properly emotionally express yourself, and try to be more courteous with people in such kind of situations. How to say a farewell, how to say goodbye in that emotional state, without it being awkward in front of others, is quite a skill. And even for real life situations, we need some training to do. So it's not just that acting is for the stage, but it's for real life too. So real life is much more like acting, and acting is much more real. So these two things are very. We have this strong dichotomy between actual life and uh, on stage life, or you can say movie life, right? Where actors supposed to go. All good actors will actually tell us this, that they actually really felt that emotion while they were performing. So in some ways, even real life situations in real life is also a sort of a performance. We need to perform in order to be more realistic. Okay, so this is not saying that let's act and be fake or something like that. It's not. That's not the message of this essay. It's saying that uh, even though you have a genuine feeling, you might end up not being able to express yourself properly, and you need training to do that. And uh, and do not underestimate the on stage or on the real life, the acting that happens, that has much more of a connection to real life than you imagine. Okay, so those two things we can glean from this uh, essay, and it is something connect this with the previous lesson that we did, which was on saying please. And even that has to do with manners and how to treat people, how to speak properly, of how everyday manners and how you treat people has an effect on society at large. Uh, uh, so um, it is something similar. So he is also giving us some pointers on how to behave in certain critical sort of situations, with his funny experience that he has and the kind of lesson that he learned from this uh, experience. Okay. If you understood, students, thank you.